Hello, my name is AJ Goldsby. I'm doing a video today. This is primarily for my chess class that I do on Tuesdays, but this is also an interesting little game, and it's a very standard trap, so I thought I would share it on YouTube, and also it'll make things easier for my students because they can just watch the YouTube. But anyway, let's just go ahead and go into this trap. This was an actual game. I think it was played in correspondence in 1995, and white is Alvaro de Feria Majado Filho, and black is Francisco Jose de Silva. And this is a fairly common trap. We'll just go ahead and jump right into it. First few moves are all correct and conform to standard theory. Of course, you have your four basic principles. They are control the center, develop your pieces, protect your king and castle early, and maintain the material balance. Don't play giveaway. Look at square control. Those four principles, the way you can remember is chess develops powerful minds. C is control the center, D is develop, P is protect the king and castle early, two-part equation, and M, minds, is material balance, maintain the material balance. And that's also really, in essence, when you look at underneath it, you teach beginners not to play giveaway. In other words, don't play giveaway, maintain the material balance. But really, when you look at that principle in depth, that is actually Nimzovich's concept of square control, and it's pretty straightforward from there. But anyway, we'll go ahead and get into the game. Starts off E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, D4, D6. White plays bishop C4. All these moves are, just fine. This is all, standard theory. This is basically either a Lopez-Steinitz defense or a Philidor, depending on, how play goes. It could transpose basically into either line. But anyway, and now black wants to prevent white from playing knight G5. He's properly worried about the F7 square. The F7 square, and especially for my students in the chess class, you always have to be concerned about F2 for white and F7. And the reason is, at the start of the game, let's just back things up a minute. At the start of the game, the only square, F2 and F7, that's protected only by the king, it's the most sensitive square. And especially the more open the position becomes, the more likely the weaknesses of those two squares could be exploited. So anyway, E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, D4, D6, bishop C4. And here black's properly concerned. In other words, an iffy move here will get black in trouble. For example, if A6, white plays knight G5, and black begins to have problems with this square. Okay, that can get black in a lot of trouble. In fact, just knight F6, knight C3, and then, if he's not careful, A6 and then knight G5. Again, this square becomes almost, hard, almost impossible to defend. So those are the kind of things you want to watch out for. The correct move here, if black wants to develop a piece and continue, his development and guard the G5 square, would simply play bishop E7. You can see that move hits the key square, and it develops a piece. On the next move, black can simply play knight F6 and castle kingside. That's the correct way to do things. But here black got a little creative. He played H6. That's, again, that's a waste of time. It's not a developing move. You're not controlling the center. You're not developing a piece. You are trying to protect the king, but that's, only a very minor thing. And I just showed you had a developing move that did the same thing. And it doesn't help you really maintain the material balance. I mean, it's a waste of time to push too many pawns in the opening. White plays knight C3. Now, black's still probably okay here. There's all kinds of moves. With E takes D4, black can actually get a fairly playable game. If black just simply plays pawn takes pawn or E5 takes D4, then and white recaptures with a knight, black gets a fairly playable game. But black again gets creative here. He plays bishop G4. And now we're setting the stage for, this pin looks nice. Pins this knight. Here's this knight. It can't move. It's like this knight is kind of nailed into the ground because it looks like if this knight ever moves, then the white queen goes bye-bye. Okay, so, and now white plays a rather surprising move. He plays D takes E5. Now, actually, the engines don't like that. A lot of the engines, I think, want to play D5 here, white expanding in space, and ultimately that may be a better move, for an engine. But as far as humans play, D takes E5 is a very good move because it's line opening. Also sets a really nifty trap. And that's the key here is that, a lot of times tactics plays a key role in chess. Now, the correct move for black is simply to play bishop takes knight, and then knight takes E5, and he's still fine. Again, black should make moves like that. But instead, he plays knight takes E5. And now it looks like, black's good. I mean, if black's expecting a mundane retreat of the bishop, if the bishop falls back to E2, then black can simply develop and he's okay. But that's not what happens here at all. Now I'm going to stop talking in just a second, so when I stop talking, please pause your video and spend a couple of minutes looking at this and see if you can't guess what comes next. Kind of play guess the move here. So I'm going to stop talking, and when I do, go ahead and pause the video. Okay, did you do like I asked? Did you pause the video? All right, if you did you spend a few minutes and try to figure out what was going to happen next? What is White going to do? White actually plays a very shocking move. He plays knight takes e5. I give that a double exclam. And the really neat thing about this is it looks like a blunder, okay? And you know, it's a very much shock value. And you know, if you're sitting there playing black, you know, a lot of players will just take the queen without even thinking. Let's explore that for just a minute. You know, let's find out what happens if black does take the queen. This is not what happened in the game, but if black does take the queen, then we fall into bishop takes f7 check, king e7, knight d5. This is known as little's mate. And I actually found a game in the database where this was actually played. White was G. Alexopoulos and black was Gerhard Schmidt, and this was the Iona College Championship in New Rochelle in 1996. So apparently people still do fall into that trap. But after, let's go back to the actual game. After knight takes e5, because of the threat there, the little's mate, black just played d takes e5. In other words, he simply recaptured the knight. And white simply now plays queen takes g4. And then black plays knight f6, queen e2. And now black plays another mistake. He actually compiles, and that very often happens when you've made a mistake. He plays bishop b4. And, you know, again, he's just trying to get developed, and he's thinking this is a good thing because, oh, maybe I can threaten his pawns and double his pawns and that kind of thing. But white simply responds, bishop takes f7 check. And now black resigns because if king takes f7, then queen c4 check. That's going to win the white queen. I mean, I'm sorry, win the black bishop back. The white queen checks. This is a fort right here. And the king's in check, and also the bishop's attacked. So if the king moves away, simply queen takes b4. That's a queen fork is what I was trying to think of. I was thinking of too many things at once. But anyway, queen c4 check. So going back to this move, this is known as a fork, a simultaneous attack on two separate units. The king's in check here on the king's in check from the queen, and the queen is also attacking the bishop. So when the king moves away, just simply queen takes b4, and it's an easy win. After queen c4 check, black went ahead and resigned. It was time for him to throw in the towel. You know, he's basically going to come out of the opening 2 or 3 pawns down, and plus he's lost his castling privileges. It is quite hopeless, and black went ahead and resigned here, and that's understandable. Also, this was a correspondence game, and generally, you know, you don't want to, you know, waste too much time, especially if you're buying stamps. I used to play correspondence when it was stamps, and generally the rule of thought, if you knew you had a dead loss game, you didn't waste any more stamps on, you know, sending moves to your opponent. Of course, nowadays a lot of correspondence is played via email or via the internet. But before the internet, you know, I used to play postal chess, and back then postal chess really was postal. You had to send your moves through the mail, and that was the only way to send and receive replies. Well, anyway, that concludes my video. I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope my chess class gets to watch this. Thank you for watching my video, and have a great day.